Stephen.
Andrew.
Do you fancy spending a quiet night inside number 9?
As always, 100%.
Right, so this week we are heading back into Hurry Up and Wait, which is Series 6, Episode 4.
4.
Did I
Correct.
give a bit of sibilance? Was that a sort of scary bit of sibilance there?
There was.
I saw your reaction, and
it was slightly whistly sibilance for a second as well.
Yeah, I've got this weird thing. You know the London look, where you have like a gap between your two front teeth?
And that gives you a whistle.
Yeah, when I've been recording vocals and stuff, like I've been
I've never noticed it before.
Yeah, no, it's been...
You've let your guard down.
It's something in the studio, like it was suggested I should put chewing gum to like block it up. But then there was also a plug-in that meant that we could get rid of it, so we did that instead.
Is it that common that that someone has invented a plug-in that
Apparently
gets rid of it?
Yeah, apparently.
Oh, it's probably for when like the beaver in Lady and the Tramp has to get rid of it. He does a lot of that, doesn't he?
Does he? Yeah. It's a bit like the Family Guy paedophile.
What a start this is.
What a way to start a podcast. Right, so yeah, Hurry Up and Wait. So this is our return to it after our reaction episode where we literally just watched it and recorded in front of a YouTube live audience.
A cast of 10s.
Reactions, a cast of 10s. Beautiful thing. So, I mean, yeah, going back through it, was there anything that you were like,
I think I enjoyed it this time more. It went down, it was a bit of a mixed reaction, wasn't it, on the live stream when we did it. Yeah. And in the chat afterwards, it was actually erring on the side of being more negative.
It did veer that way, yes.
But on another watch, I think I enjoyed it more. I think James's character came through a bit more for me, and what I sort of came to realise at the end of this one, the moment when basically his world collapses around him, when his lines are just taken off of him completely, subtly, and then just gone, he kind of feels the need to almost swing too far the other way and create this narrative and create this incredible story that he then gets to deliver like something out of Line of Duty, bringing everything together perfectly. That's his reaction to the fact that the whole reason that he was there has just gone. And so he ends up just creating this story in his head to give himself something more dramatic and to give himself that big moment, that big revealing moment that he loses to Adrian. And yeah, it all comes crashing down around him again.
That's a really interesting... Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. So like almost like a parallel seesaw thing where as he loses everything within the script, he picks it up within
he goes
his
looking
role
for
as
it.
Real cop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's interesting. And what do you think of the story that he's uncovered? Or like, do you think this is true?
No, I don't think that the story is true, because I think that it is actually almost just the sort of the obvious thing at the end, where she took the baby and she hid the baby without them really having any part of it, because everything that they sort of come out with as they're pulling his theory apart does seem generally pretty sensible. The fact that it also, even things like the big clincher would have been the shawl.
Yeah.
And the fact that the shawl just belongs to the costume department, who have lost it because Sheridan left it there, kind of suggests that, yeah, this is as obvious as it seems.
Yeah. And the fact he was, claiming benefits at the same time as working, and that's why they had to move. Yeah. Yeah. Let's start at the end then, because I think first time through, it was a take as given. The skelly hand, as it was referred to,
little skelly hand.
Yeah, which was like an unexpected moment, but also not a surprising moment. It was like you're expecting some kind of twist, some kind of reveal at the end, and there was something about it that was like, we talked about it at the time, didn't we? Being rather, I don't know, exaggeratedly
macabre.
Yes, and of a kind of 80s horror,
like a B movie kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like is that hand too big to be a?
There was a kind of a switch up with. There was like a stylistic switch towards the end bit when the creepy music on the dodgy music player is playing down the end of the hallway, the Bar Black Sheep, and she's childlike singing along with it. There's like the childlikely is a completely made up word anyway. It can be hyphenated, double hyphenated, however you like. And there's like the camera angle from underneath almost as he's sort of stumbling down the corridor in a panic about what he's about to uncover. It all kind of switches to that kind of, like you say, B movie 80s thing at that point.
Yeah. I wonder whether there was a small reference. Obviously, it's relevant having Bar Black Sheep, when because at that point his theory is that Bev is a boy, Bev is Ryan, and has been raised as a girl, Bev.
He doesn't really give it enough time to land, though, does he? Because it's a matter of seconds of him thinking he's suddenly realised something, going to the bathroom, looking at a picture, a tub of cream, and going, right, that's it, I've nailed it. This is all perfect.
In the middle of the minute silence.
Yeah.
But the Bar Black Sheep, I was thinking there's maybe a reference to the Wicker Man in that, because when Sergeant Howie is running around looking for Rowan, I can't remember exactly what happens, but there are some kids singing Bar Black Sheep. Maybe they are dancing around something. I can't remember exactly, but it kind of felt, especially, like obviously Reese is a big fan of the Wicker Man, and whether there was the stumbling, I'm Sergeant Howie in a police uniform moment, like, maybe a little nod to that.
Yeah, it does feel like that, actually, yeah.
Have you any more? Yes, sir. 3 bags full. 1 for the master, 1 for the dim, and 1 for the little boy who lives down the way.
I guess the seeds for all of this, when you watch it again, are being planted all the way through. Obviously, the fact that she's got the hair removal stuff, the fact that she says it's her birthday, accusing James of staring at her minge, chance to be a fine thing, the kind of the only child thing.
I guess and coming to that kind of, I would like to think it's an ambiguous ending. Although listening to the Inside Number 9 podcast, I don't know, have you listened to that one?
Yes, I do.
It seems like they're quite happy with the definitive nature of this being, no, it is what it looks like.
She's put it inside the doll.
Yeah. But actually, kind of ideas of pretend and imagination are massive through, like, I'd say they're like probably the overriding themes of this episode, other than slowness and repetition, which are kind of parallel themes. But like from the start, when we're introduced to her, when we're introduced to James, I mean, obviously he's an actor, and as he enters, like, you follow him with his coat, which says costume on it. So everything is not as it seems. Everything is kind of just offset from reality. And I think you feel that with Bev, that, you know, her champagne is Lucasade. Like it's not her birthday, but then she obviously didn't say it was her birthday. And there is a birthday. It is Ryan's birthday. So there's little, I don't know, elements of truth within the pretense and stuff. But then that I think it's just that childlike, the playing, the all of that stuff that then culminates in the shawl. Okay, what was it missing? Has she gone and taken it from the props department? What's it doing in there? Like, has it been left there? Like, and then is that skelly hand just a little prop that she's found somewhere, and she likes to believe that I was the one who took baby Ryan, and she gets a kick out of that.
Oh, maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's very true. Maybe that is just a little fantasy she's built. With Inside Number 9, and knowing how they write it and how they have various different endings that they can kind of switch to and pivot to, depending on how they think the audience is going to take something, and to try and kind of subvert that. It's interesting to wonder whether things like the watch, because like the watch was clearly planted there as, well, it was either there as a potential route to go down later that they just didn't go down at all, or there is a bit of a red herring. Because I assume James's whole problem was that this was a specific dated drama, and that he was wearing something like an Apple Watch, which would have been an anachronism and therefore a bit of a problem. Yeah. So it needed sorting. I assume that's what the issue was, that he needed a better watch. That's the only reason I could think of that he would need to speak to. I mean, you could just take it off and not wear a watch.
Yeah,
I don't really know why he's so bothered about the watch, but I guess maybe that's the time. It's about time, and it's about waiting, and it's about
exactly. Yeah, I mean, there's
paying attention to the time.
Reference to hurry up and wait and time, and yeah. And I don't think you see his wrists. I mean, you don't see a lot of him.
Say a lot. The back of his head, and then his massive black eye
and
as he toddles off at the end.
Incredibly good bad acting.
Yeah. Just a nodding back of head.
It's the like exaggerated nod, so you can see I am giving an affirmative response to this situation.
You can pop yourself down there, James, and we'll get through as soon as you can. Would you like a drink of anything?
Oh, a cup of tea would be great.
Okay, do you have a reusable cup?
No, not on me, no.
No worries, we'll see if I can sort that for you. We're running a bit behind, but there's only a couple of setups left on 12, and then we'll be on to 42, okay?
Yeah, 42. Is that where I've got my dialogue?
No idea, to be honest, but I can find out for you straight away.
Oh, thanks. And is it possible to have a quick word with costume? Because my watch is...
The stealing of his lines was beautifully done.
Yeah.
Brilliantly scripted.
That was something. So originally, like when we first watched it, it felt like, well, I mean, one of the questions I guess was, has Adrian Dunbar just been sent into this situation to pillage the lines of James so that you can basically turn him into an extra rather than a character with lines so you can pay him less? And is he just doing the work of the producers or the kind of studio? Watching it again...
No, he's just self-absorbed enough to want it, isn't he?
It's that moment where James questions the fact that he's playing another police officer. And you can almost sense the moment at which Adrian Dunbar's like, okay, right, I'm going to take everything that this guy has right now.
And I'm going to make it seem like I'm a really nice guy while I'm doing it.
Exactly.
I care more about the art than about me.
It's so well done. It's so perfect. And weirdly, did you see that Adrian Dunbar on the 3rd of June, so 2 days after this episode aired, was revealed as starring in an ITV crime drama called Ridley, where he's basically starring as another police.
He's being typecast. I love that he's even pulled in as someone who moans that he's being typecast whilst being typecast. There's a very weird meta thing going on here. We need
again, fair play to Adrian Dunbar. So
yeah, he comes off as very charming. Lovely relationship going there with Jo, the runner. She'll do anything. She's lovely. She's very attentive.
Not for you.
But not for you.
Yeah, one of the themes around that, around Jo and around Adrian and Stan, actually, that came to mind when I was watching it was this idea of control and power and dominance and like position, like being in a position of control over others, which I think James is excluded from almost entirely, other than as you've alluded to, that kind of parallel the rise of him taking control of the original crime itself and finding this narrative of, actually, no, I've solved it. I've solved the actual crime. Obviously, you've got Jo as the runner, like doing everything for Adrian, pretending or giving the illusion that she's doing everything for the other actors, including James. Like, I'll do that. And time, I suppose, comes into it again because I'll get onto that as soon as I can. Like, that'll be done immediately.
She's whizzing around all over the shop. She's
exactly, and it's like she has James like just in a little corner, like he's nothing in terms of the power and position. And then obviously when Stan comes in, he establishes, right, this is my house. I'm going to make you feel as small as I possibly can, which is another theme, the smallness of James and the smallness of things, like James's part. And obviously the caravan, the claustrophobia of all of that. Yeah. But yeah, I thought that was quite interesting in terms of, I guess, the surface level elements of the way that those characters are jostling for position. And I don't think James is the same, even when he is trying to come up with this story of the murder. He's not doing it in the way that the others are, just basically trying to get one over on people.
He has to wait until he feels like he's got this all sewn up to lord it over everyone at the end. He's not chipping away at people. He's very meek and earnest and put upon until the moment when he thinks he has all of the answers.
The big
and he
reveal.
reveals it as one big thing. And that was, I guess, the only way he felt like he was going to be able to get one over on Adrian was by being the actual policeman who actually solves the actual crime, not the little 2-bit actor who's got some extra lines in a crime drama written by John Pope. Jeff Pope, not John Bishop. He's the Scouse comedian.
In your blue cup, yes?
If you wouldn't mind, babe.
Of course not.
Only if you could get wardrobe.
She's great, Jo, isn't she? So attentive.
Yeah.
Right, so let's look at this scene. Scene 42. It's a bit of a quickie, isn't it? All right, so the Bobby approaches. Off you go.
Excuse me, sir. Can I have a word? Something's come up and I think it might be important.
Yeah. It's a bit of a mouthful, that, isn't it? I mean, why don't you just come in and say, excuse me, sir? I'll say yeah. And then you come out with the next line, yeah?
Stan is another cracking Steve character, isn't he?
And I believe his Stan.
Oh, that face as James comes out of the toilet is vicious. He's crowning.
And you believe it.
I believe that Steve Pemberton's crowning there.
Yeah. Maybe he was. Maybe he's method acting. Yeah, I think the term, when Stan is sent by Jo away because you've been paid, which I'd love to know how much they get. That was another interesting thing.
That it is a real thing that they do.
Like,
I was amazed.
Bringing them once they're coming closer into the kind of area where they're filming, they will put them up in
people's houses.
Yeah,
I didn't know that was a thing, and I Yeah, it was interesting to hear in that podcast. There were parts of this story that were very much based in real things that did happen while sat in people's living rooms.
And I get, because this is it's another industry episode, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
the third out of fourth in this.
Yeah. They've really gone in on the industry.
Yeah, and yeah, that it's fascinating and horrific to think you might be sat in somebody's living room, and because they were like regaling stories of how you'd be there, and the curiosity or the intrigue of the people, the residents of that particular residence, will come out, like you'll see them peeking around a door, like, oh, who is it? Who's in our lounge? And then that whole scene with Oona, saying, it must be awful, like, when you're trying to concentrate and someone interrupts you, or like
asking you questions.
Yeah, and like the complete lack of self-awareness. But yeah, it's different when it's me, because I'm fine. It's me.
I'm interesting. They don't want to hear from me.
Nothing worse than someone busying themselves around you when you're trying to concentrate, is there? You just want peace and quiet. Do you get fed up with people always asking you questions and wittering on at you? I know I would.
We get the snooker scene.
Anything in there that you've picked up on?
Well, I went through, try and pick up on the commentary. So a lot of the commentary is inaudible.
Was there a number 27 at one point?
There is a number 27. Yeah. So the break is 27.9. Obviously the potting of the brown while he's, taking a dump.
The brown's getting potted.
Exactly. And then when he comes out, they're having the conversation about Adrian Dunbar, and James says, he liked him as Plantagenet in The Hollow Crown.
Actually, there is an attempt at dominance there.
Good point.
James is clearly trying to intellectually one-up him, because there's no way in hell that he thinks Stan, unless he is so self-absorbed in his own little acting world, that he doesn't know that it doesn't even cross his mind that Stan may have not watched the War of the Roses cycle.
That is a good point, because then the commentary on the snooker, when that sort of lands, because I think Stan, perhaps in that context, regains dominance, because it then comes out, the commentary says that was a bit unlucky.
He's in this, isn't he? Ted Hastings. They said in the paper.
Yeah, Adrian Dunbar. Yeah, I loved him as Plantagenet in The Hollow Crown. I don't know if you saw it. Part of Shakespeare's War of the Roses cycle.
That was a bit unlucky.
And then I think the only other thing was, I can't remember the conversation they have, but then Stan has a drag on his cigarette and then breathes out the smoke, and then there's a cough on the snooker. You know how you hear the and
good.
Reese's face is a little bit like responding to the smoke. So there's a crossover. But no, I like that point of, so James is attempting through a sort of cultural lens to dominate Stan, and it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. And even when there's a game of one-upmanship about whose job is harder.
I was going to say, that's the same, isn't it? Yeah.
James is not going to win, because sometimes he has to get up early to get into makeup.
He has to get breakfast.
And get
early
into makeup.
Breakfast. Yeah.
Are you taking the piss?
Yeah. That's really interesting. That's a good point.
It was never going to happen, and it's the only way he knows how, I guess, to try and get a one-up. But then Stan at that point kind of is not content with just managing to shut the conversation down by threatening to attack him. When Adrian then comes in, he really wants to grind him into the dirt and humiliate him by making him look stupid in front of Adrian.
And there's a theme there, isn't there? Because that's both Stan and Adrian do exactly the same thing with him. Because Stan wants to humiliate him in front of Adrian, and Adrian just wants to humiliate him in front of the nation. even though as you're watching on, you're thinking he hasn't done anything particularly bad.
No, he hasn't.
But maybe he's representing something within the industry, even something within this realm that is like, perhaps it's linked with the, like, when they're talking about it being, and I think James is very much invested in this as a story. He's banging on about how great John Bishop is as a comedian, as a screenwriter, and he. That means I can't take that bit out earlier. Just call back now. Can't edit it out, mate.
You've consolidated it.
Yeah. And Oona says, like, for some people, this is not a story for some people. This is real life. And that seems to be perhaps missing slightly for James. He's in on this as it's really sensitively written. Like everything has been done really, really well. And he doesn't appreciate the fact that actually this is maybe based in something that is factual around this area.
I guess losing his connection to the script gives him the license to go after the real story, because he does lose any connection he did have to the script completely.
Great point.
Thanks.
Yeah. He's been written out of the script. So then he's now back. He's entered into the reality of the original thing, but he's in a maybe also imaginative situation.
He's quite a complex guy, James.
Yeah.
You're not a real pig, are you?
No, I'm just playing pig.
6 times they've been in here going through that computer. I told them there's fuck all on it. So is this your script? There's no to it.
Yeah, it's what we call the sides. It's just the scenes we're filming today.
Right. Are you the Bobby?
I play Bobby, yeah.
He's not called Bobby. He is a Bobby. Look, the Bobby approaches.
Yeah, but in my mind, he's called Bobby as well. So
I guess even so, the whole the Bobby, that whole piece was very much belittling, and it's quite cute in James of like, no, I like to think of him as Bobby. Like
Bobby the Bobby.
He has a name. Like he's a character. He's a real human character. Like, and so he's kind of fleshing him out. But then when Stan talks about being you're not a real pig, are you? And then
playing pig.
I'm playing pig. As it like in the same way as like, you're not a real Bobby, are you? No, I'm playing Bobby. It's like, no, I'm playing pig. he's just substituted Bobby for pig. It's
I'm
like,
playing
no,
pig.
Okay, my name's Pig now. Like that's fine. I thought it was a beautiful, very subtle little
Just word swap.
Yeah, exactly. It's nice. Yeah, I mean, so obviously just thinking of other themes like I mentioned it earlier, like the size of things is something that's there. And I think we all noticed when we first watched it, like that old model car.
That car, yeah.
Which is obviously small. And
it's a model. If it was a real size one, it would have struggled to fit inside that caravan.
Especially on the counter. But yeah, is that sort of just pointing to the fact that things are going to be out of, like, scale wise, things are going to be slightly off, things are going to be,
maybe,
a little bit different, things are going to be morphing and changing.
Yeah, I mean, the creepy music heading towards the room felt like a sort of scene that is usually dragged out a little more on a larger scale and down longer corridors, giving that opportunity for it to kind of build up to the point where they burst into the room, but there isn't really an opportunity to do that in a mobile home.
That's a really good point. Yeah. I think you can find that kind of the smallness So like Oona asks James whether he has a big part, which obviously makes Bev laugh. You know, it's a classic little thing. And then that's a precursor to, well, you know, it's just a few lines, and then his part is eradicated. So there is, I think, you know, the emasculation, like there is an emasculating element there, which is very much like prevalent in the fact that do you have a big part is an allusion to how much of a man are you, or how, like,
and his part ends up being completely removed. So he overcompensates for it by creating a story about an even bigger part he's got, that then all falls apart as well.
And in that moment, like, that's a classic moment, isn't it, when he's telling Joe, and it's like this crescendo, like the music's growing, everything is like whoa, 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 and she's listening to someone on the intercom.
The fact that he can be saying these things and she is able to completely dismiss him and only pay attention, acting as though he has said nothing of any consequence to her whatsoever. That's how easy he is to ignore.
Yeah.
But when he's speaking to Adrian about his work in Line of Duty, it becomes very obvious towards the end with the way that he goes through his explanation that he's very much a fan of Line of Duty, and that's kind of the nice, tidy package that it's all tied up in.
Yeah.
I've got every base covered here. This is it.
Yeah, I think it's weird. Like, I feel like we haven't talked about Bev much yet.
No, we haven't.
And
which is weird, because she's essentially your antagonist throughout the whole thing.
Well, I was going to say, like, the other theme, or the other kind of thread that is through the entire episode is this, like, the agony of waiting and the awkwardness of this entire situation, which is made completely,
she's
first of all, by Bev. Yeah. Like, she really sets it up perfectly. And it's so well acted. Like,
the stares and the manic grins, and yeah, and just the way she enters is like the most surprising moment, like with the hair removal cream on her upper lip, and it's like, what? Sorry, what's going on here? And you don't notice. I was kind of looking close. You don't notice, like, the left hand isn't revealed through the entire. Is it not?
Episode.
She keeps it hidden.
Yeah.
You're looking out for skellies.
I was looking for skellies. And that, I mean, that doesn't give any credence to the idea that it's really baby Ryan. It's just maybe she's got a little skelly hand in the left mitten. But I don't know.
Even for an episode of Inside Number 9, it's incredibly claustrophobic. Not quite as much as Sardines, but it's up there with some of the most tightly packed,
where you can smell
spaces.
What's going on.
Yes.
I mean, Sardines is another level. But yeah, this, maybe the toilet is that sort of moment where...
We've all used a mobile home toilet and gone,
yeah. Snooker's probably not the greatest thing to have playing if you want to sort of conceal the noises coming out.
Things that reflect noises and kind of draw attention to dropping things.
And are mostly silent, so it's not going to...
Yes.
You're going to have to...
That's true, yeah.
You know, time it
it's not
quite
disguising
well.
anything.
Great shot.
Something Joe had noticed is the sign on the door, the green room sign, changes. So it's capital G, lowercase REEN, capital R, lowercase
Cool. Yeah.
And then halfway through the episode, it's all capitals.
Right.
And then by the end of the episode, it's back to the original again. Whether this is a continuity issue, which seems
Maybe this was a
continuity issue.
As far as I'm aware, Last Night at the Proms was the only one that got interrupted by lockdown
By a matter of a lot of months. Yeah.
But imagine maybe a couple of shots for this one were as well.
Maybe that's what it is, or maybe
go on,
some kind of parallel caravan kicks in.
Sorry, I think you just heard me banging my head against my microphone.
It's a very, very subtle sign that we've entered a parallel caravan.
A parallelovan.
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice. See, we're getting somewhere here.
A dodgy portmanteau does not a solid theory make, Andrew.
Yeah. Now, if you've got any thoughts on why the paralleller van. Nice. I really like it.
It's not.
Why there might be a parallel van.
No, I don't like this. I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing here. You're taking that word because I said it and kind of making it seem like I'm somehow involved in this theory now, which I'm not. You
came up with the name for this.
No. See, that's what I know. I know this is what you're doing. I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing. They all know as well.
No, they don't.
They do. They can hear this unfolding before there is. Yeah.
No, they don't.
What's he talking about?
I've got no idea.
Now, if anybody has any thoughts, reflections on what we've said, or theories on the episode itself, then please do get in touch. aquietnightinside09@gmail.com.
Or now they can use the YouTube comments, can't they, underneath?
Oh, they can. Yeah, because we are posting these on YouTube or on Twitter @AQNIN9. Cool. Well, I hope you have a great week and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That James isn't much of an actor, is he?
Glorified extra.
I'm finding it a bit slow. They should have put some action into it.
I can't, can they? They've got to stick to what actually happened.
That's the problem, isn't it? It has no ending. No one knows what happened.
No. They don't, do they?